Hey guys, it's Luke and I am coming to you with part 7 of our I Am series of devotions. This one from John 10 verse 11, in which Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Now we know a little bit about shepherds and what they do. They make sure the sheep get enough grass and they get enough water, but they also have a very important role that they protect the sheep from enemies. If that means there's a person coming up trying to hurt them or an animal coming up and trying to eat them, it's the shepherd's responsibility and job to make sure that they stay safe. They stand up and fight. And Jesus, he contrasts the good shepherd here in verse 11 against the hired hand in verse 12. When we're thinking about the fight or flight, the shepherd is the fight, stand up and defend them, but the hired hand is the flight. He says, enemies come in, I'm out of here. I'm not fighting. Honestly, I can't really blame the hired hand. If I were a shepherd and I was out in the middle of a field with a bunch of sheep and it's just me and there's a bear coming up or a lion or a tiger, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea for me to let that lion or tiger or bear have a few sheep so that way it's a distraction so I can run. And that's kind of the response that the hired hand has, that same attitude. If you're going to come and fight, don't eat me, eat the sheep. But really that attitude isn't exactly what you want in a shepherd. Jesus is a shepherd of love, where the hired hand isn't exactly that. The good shepherd, he knows his sheep and he loves his sheep, and so he stands up for his sheep. But the hired hand, he's not really interested in the sheep so much because they're not his sheep. He doesn't know them as well. He doesn't call them by name. He's a lot more interested in himself. So the good shepherd is a shepherd of love, and he shows his love by laying down his life for the sheep. And I would encourage you, Christian, that this is how our God stands up for us, that he's a good shepherd who lays down his life for us because he loves us. When Satan wants to claim a hold of us, of our soul, then our God, he protects us. He keeps us from Satan. So he has this special kind of love for us, but he also shows his power. A few verses later, verse 17 and 18, Jesus says, For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again. Jesus is showing us what kind of shepherd he is. He's not the kind of shepherd who sees an enemy coming and he stands up to fight and he is just outmatched and outmaneuvered and he lays down his life because he's just beat. No, Jesus is a powerful shepherd. And you can see whenever he lays down his life at the very end that he's very intentional. He's not overwhelmed. Whenever they come to arrest him, he doesn't try to evade. He lets himself be arrested. Whenever he stands before the court, he doesn't offer a defense for himself. He just lets them proceed. Then on the cross, when they say, call down angels from heaven and let yourself down, Jesus doesn't do it. He just continues on through the end. There's this intentional laying down of his power, laying down of his life from Jesus. But that doesn't mean that he's weak or he's outgunned or outmatched or beaten. No. He lays it down so that later he can prove his power once again, because he's also the one who may take his life up again. And he absolutely does that on the third day, showing us that our God, he's a God of love and a God of power. A lot of times those two don't go together. You think of someone with a lot of power, a lot of times it corrupts. It goes to your head. You start seeking your own influences, your own interests. But Jesus is a God who had all power and yet still had a good heart. He had a clean heart and unmatched power as the good shepherd. So Christians, let's rest in that. Our God is a God of love and our God is a God of power. He lays down his life for the sheep and he absolutely has power to raise his life back up again. Just as Jesus raised up his life once again, we have the future hope that he's going to raise our lives up once again when we die, so that we can live with him forever in eternity. Jesus is the good shepherd.